The flaw had a name. It got that name in 1977, years before the industry it would kill was even born. And none of it happened because the machine failed. The machine at the center of this story worked. It ran for a decade. Digital said its configuration system saved them tens of millions a year. And it needed half its rules rewritten every year, forever. This is Chapter 3, The Winter. Here's what the next few minutes give you. You'll know exactly why handwritten rules can never cover the world. Not because the idea was stupid, but because of something true about experts. And you'll know why that same narrow throat is still in front of the AI projects being started this quarter. Nobody has widened it. They went around. Chapter 2 ended with an expert running out of things to say. This is the other jaw. The rules that do come never stop, and they still never cover enough. Digital equipment sells computers the way a tailor sells suits. Every order is custom. Hundreds of parts, and they all have to fit together. Get it wrong, and a truck arrives at a customer's building with a cable missing. So they took the problem to a university, and a professor started typing the rules down. That December, 4 months in, 250 rules. 6 months later, 750. And then the part nobody expected. They rewrote it, and it got smaller. 750 rules, down to 500. The patterns had emerged. It was more capable than before, and smaller. If you were there then, you would have thought the end was in sight. It never happened again. The line climbed out of the dip and never stopped. Past 2,000, past 3, past 6, still going when we cut away. 6 years in, the engineers wrote it down themselves. Their words, "We even thought that R1 would be done eventually. It is difficult now to believe R1 will ever be done." Half that wall changed every year. Not because they were wrong, because the world moved, and because what the rules meant was never in the rules. To understand them, you had to find the person who wrote them. And they had begun firing at each other. Nobody wrote a contradiction. There were too many rules for any one person to hold, so they collided in the dark. 80,000 orders, 8 people, 4 years of work every year to stand still. And the paper says it plainly. It had seen only a small fraction of what could happen. By 1985, this was an industry. Expert systems had their own conferences, their own consultancies, and their own hardware, special machines built to run nothing else. Which is the detail that ends it. Because ordinary computers were getting cheaper and faster every year, and a machine that does one thing is a bet that the one thing lasts. It isn't a crash, it's a bleed. 3 years of a number going the wrong way, and a bleed is easy to explain away, 1 year at a time. And the money? It didn't stop. DARPA's basic AI budget peaked in 1987, $44 million, the most it had ever been. The next year it fell to 36, an 18% cut. Not a guillotine, a decision. The money didn't freeze. It walked to weather modeling and anything that wasn't AI. Which is worse? A freeze thaws. As for the name, nobody knows who coined it. By the summer of 1984, it was already loose in the field, the way a rumor is loose. No author. August 1984. Austin, Texas. The industry is booming. And at the field's own annual meeting, a panel sits down beneath a title somebody chose in advance, The Dark Ages of AI. The moderator opens by sketching the worst case out loud. The startups all fail. Texas Instruments loses interest. And everybody hurriedly changes the name of the research project to something else. Called the AI Winter by some, not by him. The field already had a word for its own death, and nobody remembers who said it first. And then the panel voted no. Not very likely to happen, said the moderator. There may be an AI dusk, said another. The bubble may become smaller and less fragile. 3 years later, the bubble burst. The thing that beat it has a name too. The knowledge acquisition bottleneck. The narrow place all of it has to squeeze through. When the world hands it a case nobody typed a rule for, it doesn't guess. It has nothing. That's brittleness, and it is not the same as being wrong. What the expert can't hand over has a name from 1966. Tacit knowledge. We can know more than we can tell. Now put it on the map. 35 cells. After 2 chapters, 2 of them are lit, and typing rules is how we lit both. Here's what the winter was really about, in one frame. A rule can only reach a cell where an expert can say how they know. Look how much of the map that leaves in the dark. 33 cells, recognizing a face, hearing a sentence, knowing a tumor by looking at it. Every one of them a thing people do and cannot explain. So, tomorrow at work, here's what you own now. When someone says, we'll add a rule for that, you'll know they really mean the wall, and that the wall always wins, because the cases never run out and the person typing does. And when an AI project stalls on data quality or edge cases, you'll know you're watching the 1977 bottleneck wearing a new coat. The knowledge is still in someone's hands. It still won't come out. One last thing before the lamp goes down. Everything you've watched was people trying to pour a mind into a machine, one sentence at a time. And while the industry bled, a few people were already asking a heretical question. What if you stopped telling the machine anything and showed it examples until it worked the rest out itself? It wasn't a new idea. Someone had already built one in 1958, a machine that learned from examples, meant to recognize the world on its own, and the field walked away from it. It was built to do the one thing no rule could ever reach. It learned what things were by looking at them, and by the time anyone went back for it, its inventor was dead at 43. That story is next, the machine that learned by looking decades too early. Chapter 4, The Bouncer Machine. Leave the lamp on.